Hello everybody, welcome into the Hobby Bar. This is Jason, and welcome. Today we'll be continuing on this guy, the Genestealer Cults Patriarch that we started, and keep building up colors, get some more washes on, have some fun. If you do any hobbying, feel free to jump in. If you don't, we can enjoy anyway, and get something done. But first, we're going to be jumping in with some Citadel Deepkin Flesh. It's a layer paint that they do. It came out at the same time as the Iron Rack Flesh, or Iron Rack skin that we used to base coat this guy. And these were supposed to be used on the Edeneth Deepkin for their flesh tones because they had a very pale, sickly white colored flesh tone. And these came out at the same time as those, and I wanted to use those on this guy because I really haven't been using these paints and might as well find something to use them on. So, give the big creepy alien guy some kind of sickly bluish skin to go with the yellow carapace and bluish purplish carapace going on. So, yeah, we'll be going ahead and sort of layering it up a bit with this Deepkin Flesh. We'll come back to the color quite a bit, but right now I just wanted to do a fairly basic highlight on them, just to pick out the raised areas around them and get some highlights going before we hit them with a wash later on. The color's not super different from Iron Rack, but it is a little bit paler, so the difference is kind of subtle and potentially hard to see. Did mix in some of the Merlin's Magic Medium from Cuttlefish colors though, because I find adding a drop of that to these Citadel paints just seems to help make them flow a little bit better, and I've had better luck with it than the Lamian Medium from Citadel, so I wanted to make use of that. I should try some Lamian with some of these paints in the future again, just to see if I can get the mixture a little bit better. But yeah, we'll go ahead and go around on his skin with some Deepkin Flesh, just to, again, pick out raised areas, pick out some details, and I'll catch up with you all here in a little bit for the next paint. Alrighty, here we are moving on to Femme Fatale Violet from Cuttlefish Colors. Wanted to pick out, I noticed one spot was looking a little blue, so I wanted to touch that up real quick, but I wanted to base coat the helmet in Femme Fatale Violet, just to give it sort of a purple undertone. And the point of this was I was going to make the helmet red because no other portion of the menu was going to be like a bright red. And, you know, it got the head of a blood angel. So that's what we can say happened for this patriarch here. Yeah, so I wanted to go around on the helmet, base coat it up with this Femme Fatale violet. And yeah, it'll take a couple coats here. But I'm not looking to build it up to a super strong level of Femme Fatale violet. Just put an undercoat on this way when we come back with some other reds over it. It'll already not be just a stark white under the red. So we'll go ahead and finish doing that up, and I'll catch up with y'all here in a little bit for the next paint. Alrighty, here we are back to some Deepkin Flesh. So, I wanted to come in and just add a little bit more into some of the areas, just to see if I can get it, again, shifted into that highlight color on some areas. So, just a quick little bit of that before we jump over to another color. Alright, so here we are with some Cephalopod Studios Bright Yellow. A fairly straightforward name for that one. But I wanted to use this as the highlight yellow, so trying to pick out raised areas and more flat areas on the mini just to give them some slightly brighter yellow, as the paint name would imply. Instead of having that sort of flesh undertoned sunflower yellow, sort of that closer to orange yellow, I guess you could say. I wanted the raised areas and the top areas to be more of that, just, I don't want to say obnoxiously bright, because it's still not super bright yellow, but it's a brighter yellow on the raised areas, so it's a nice little bit of yellow up there for that all-around sort of highlight on the raised areas from above, because generally when I paint for light from above in a general sense. Like I don't want a spotlight coming from a certain spot and all that. Just general all around lighting from above. So I don't know what that would be called exactly. I'm not really an artist here, but figure because most stores tend to have pretty well lit and dissipated lights, I guess you could say, where it comes from a bunch of different angles. It's not really a hard spotlight from a single angle. I tend to like just general lighting from above instead of other fanciness. So that's what we're going for with this bright yellow. Just making sure we apply it to all the yellow areas, even the Patriarch's little kneecaps and stuff. But this will take a couple of layers, and we'll go ahead and get this painted up on them. And yeah, I'll catch up with y'all here in a little while when we move on to the next bit of painting. Alrighty, here we are moving on to quite a bit of washing. I wasn't quite pleased with how some of the stringy areas of the flesh was looking, so I wanted to break out the Cephalopod Studios Fleshtone Wash here and get that into those ribbed areas where it's sort of sinewy, muscly flesh sort of showing through. So like on the back and on its arms, some areas of its legs, etc. So going around with the Fleshtone Wash and getting it into those areas. I do need to come back and pick out the stringy bits with another color, probably the Deepkin Flesh or something else. I'll need to figure that out here soon. Because, yeah, after putting the flesh wash on, I'm pretty happy with how those little ribbed areas look. So, just need to figure out how I want to highlight them, and we can go on from there. But, yeah, we're going to do a whole bunch of washing here on this mini with a bunch of different cuttlefish colors, so hold on tight for that. It'll be pretty fun here in a bit. A lot of swapping back and forth, but before we get to that, finish up with some other washes nice and easy. So, we'll go ahead and continue putting the Fleshtone Wash on here with this still nice size 6 brush. It's holding its tip pretty well. Still that one hair that I should probably just clip at this point, just to make it uniform in length, but it's working pretty well, so pretty happy with it so far. It's a Monument Hobbies brush, if anyone's interested in looking them up. But here in a bit, we'll be moving on to the next wash. Alrighty, here we are with some green wash. I wanted to bust out the green wash from some Cuttlefish colors because I felt like the spines were a little bit too blue at the moment. So I wanted to try out the green wash on it just to see what that would do to the colors there. And I kind of like the way it shifted the color. Granted, it was a bit stronger than I would have hoped, I guess, when I was applying it. When it dried, it really was hard to tell that it was kind of stronger in some areas. So overall, I was pretty happy with it, with the result. So that's why I just started going ham and putting it everywhere. All over all the claws and spines and everything else. So yeah, we'll go around, get the feet, the forearms, the spines, all that fun stuff, and get it greened up, add that green to it. So I'll catch up with y'all. Oh, and the tail spike. So yeah, I'll see y'all here in a little bit for the next paint. Alrighty, here we are moving on to Cuttlefish Colors Blue Wash. So for the Blue Wash, original intent was to target wash, where I would just sort of go into the recesses and pick out specific spots to be blue. That's a real time consuming process, so I sort of started to get lazy, and I was just like, in all honesty, an all over wash kinda works just as well. So I end up just swapping from a targeted wash to a just all over wash of the blue, because I can always come back in with Deepkin Flesh and touch it up, or the Iron Rack Flesh, if I really have to go back and knock basically all of the blue out. I can always go back to one of those. So I just decided, you know what, heck with it, we'll just do an all over wash, touch it up later, even though picking out details kind of time consuming again, but either you pick them out with your targeted wash and try to get to recesses accurately, or you can come back and pick out highlights, sort of whichever you're up for. So that's why I decided to just do it all over again and pick stuff out later. So this process takes a little bit just because there's a good amount of skin all over it, all over this Patriarch to get to. And yeah, we'll go ahead and continue chugging through this, and I'll catch up with you all here in a little bit for the fun part where we start swapping around quite a bit on some of these washes before taking a break to let everything dry. So I'll see y'all in a little bit for that one. Alrighty, here we are swapping over to some Ghoul Flesh Colors Red Wash. I want to use this red wash on the brain of the Patriarch, because though the paint looked pretty good on it before, it wasn't quite where I wanted it to be for the color. Probably for the raised areas it was nice, but the recesses I wanted it to really stand out, build up a little more contrast, so I wanted to come in with this red wash here on the brain to really define those recessed areas and give it that brainy look, so to speak. Also figured, while we're at it, put it on the helmet that's going to be red anyway. Then we jumped over to some Fleshtone because I noticed I noticed the fins between the spines on the tail were still white, and I wasn't really sure what I was going to do with them, so I just wanted to come in here and throw some Fleshtone in them, with what was left and drying on the, in the palette wells there. So, just wanted to hit those real quick, and then, yeah, I think I noticed I missed some other areas, so I want to really quickly hit those. And next up, we move on to some orange wash. So this orange wash I busted out because I wanted its eyes to sort of be a different color than everything else. I decided we can come in here with orange, so at least get that orange base coat into the eye socket area and figure that out later. And then we jump into blue wash though, because I wanted to make the tongue bit, whatever, with the extra mouth a bit more blue. And also hit the face. But then we jump back to orange wash because I got some of the blue a little close to the orange, so I had to erase some. Come back in with the blue. Make that all happy. Then we jump over to some purple wash. Oh no, I used purple wash for the tongue. Blue was just on the face. So I put a little bit of purple wash on the wet palette. Most people will say don't put a wash on the wet palette, but I was out of those 5 wells that I was using for paints. Then took a little break till everything dry, and we come back in with Crawdaddy Red. Been using this quite a lot lately, and yeah, I really enjoy using the color. We're gonna use this on the helmet, and build up that red color on the helmet. again, we base coated it with Femme Fatale Violet earlier to bring it from that white base coat prime to sort of a purple. And now we're going over all of that purple with this Crawdaddy Red to sort of start shifting it into that red color, and later on we'll come in with even another red for sort of a highlight job on it, but still mostly just solidifying the red in there with this third red that we'll bring in much later. But yeah, we'll just be going around on this helmet, building up a few layers of Crawdaddy Red now that the wash extravaganza, if you want to call it that, is over. But yeah, we'll go ahead and build up this helmet a bit, and I'll catch up with y'all here in a little bit for the next paint, now that it's slowing down. Alrighty, here we are coming back to Citadel Deepkin Flesh. After doing the all-over blue wash, now that it's dried, I do want to come back in and re-bring in some of the highlight that I did earlier with the Deepkin Flesh. So, again, thinned it out with a bit of medium, the Merlin's Magic medium from Cuttlefish Colors or Cephalopod Studios. So, and yeah, gonna go around and re-highlight all the skin bits. So this process is going to take a bit longer than picking out all the details before, but with the wash on, it's a little easier to see where it needs to go, and the wash sort of tones down some of the potential mistakes of highlighting from before, so hopefully we can keep in some of the details and just re-highlight the right areas and just make everything pop again. Start getting some of that definition back into the mini for all this skin bits. I decided to use the blue wash from Cephalopod Studios instead of Drakenhof Nightshade from Citadel for this, because for whatever reason my Citadel shade paints tend to get spotty, I guess is the easiest way to put it, on minis. Not sure if it's not shaken up enough, there's not enough medium still in them, or what the deal is, but what ends up happening is they tend to leave behind very areas of the shade tend to gloop up a bit more, and it sort of acts more like a contrast paint at this point. It's weird, and I can't really explain it super well, but I wanted to try out the Cuttlefish Colors paints because since they tend to be a little thinner, I tend to have a little bit better luck using them for various things, and I haven't really tried out a lot of their washes, so I figured, what the heck, I'm using a lot of their paints on this and trying different things anyway, why not? So, wanted to try out their blue wash, and yeah, I'm pretty happy with how it dried up on it. It didn't really tint a lot of the raised areas super hard, It did tend to settle in the recesses and give it a bit more definition, so pretty happy with how it went. I feel it's not as strong as Drakenhof Nightshade, so that's also a slight plus, since, I don't know, that stuff is just, my pot of it is real strong for the Drakenhof, so I was hesitant to try to break that out, because I feel like I would have needed to add some medium to it or something, and then hope that I mixed enough of it. So, anyway, I'm gonna continue going around, picking out different areas to highlight on this guy for his skin again, and yeah, I'll catch up with you all here in a little bit for the next color. Alrighty, here we are moving on to some Will-O-Wisp Blue from Cephalopod Studios, part of their Colorfish Colors line. And I wanted to sort of bring the spines, some of their highlight areas, back to a, I guess, seafoam green-ish color. Or, I forget what that color would be called offhand. I'm pretty sure it would be seafoam green. But, sort of that between green and blue color, and it's fairly pale there. You can see it on the screen for in the bottom left corner for a shot of the bottle. But basically I want to put that over the Siren Green and Green Wash paints, just to sort of highlight some areas again and pick out what the raised areas. Wasn't really a strong difference though. So we're going to come in with another color here after this one to really pick out and edge highlight some of these sharper things. Since they're sharp, they should probably have a fairly sharp edge highlight to them, I figured. So this Will-O-Wisp Blue was fairly subtle. Again, fairly subtle. So I wanted to come in here with something a little sharper. So we're going to go back to another paint that we've used before and really sharpen up those edges. But I'll catch up with you all here in a little bit for when we get to that bit. Alrighty, here we are with some Cephalopod Studios Ghoul Flesh, part of their Cuttlefish Colors paints. So Ghoul Flesh is a fairly pallid green-white flesh tone. I guess zombie-ish or ghoulish flesh, sort of rotting. But I decided to use this because it's a fairly desaturated green, basically. And because these nails, spines, and everything on it are a blue-green, I wanted to bring it closer to green for the highlight and desaturate it for the highlight, just to show sharpness, because sharper things, art-wise, from what I've seen, tend to have that white highlight on them. I didn't want to go straight to white, per se, otherwise I could probably mix white night with a bit of this, just to give it that really sharp edge in some places, but I figure for general highlight, we'll finish off with the Ghoul Flesh, and then see how this looks. But, yeah, we'll be going over all the spines here with some Ghoul Flesh, just to highlight all the different areas. For most of this, stuff, I think I swapped over to a size 3 brush for a lot of it. A natural hair size 3 sable, brush, and I don't know whether it's the climate or what, but these things just seem to, natural brushes just seem to love to start exploding out on me real fast. I think I need to get some actual conditioner or something for brushes, but this one, after making sure that it's wet and, you know, or it's loaded with paint, or both, it seemed to be holding its shape pretty well. So, hopefully I can remember to take better care of these natural hair ones, because I kind of have had problems with them before. So, anyway, hopefully we won't screw these up and end up with them poofed out all over the place all the time. So, anyway, we'll go ahead and continue working around on all these spines with the Ghoul Flesh, and I'll catch up with you all here in a little bit for the next paint. Alrighty, here we are coming in with some Cephalopod Studios Sacrificial Red. Decided to go to Sacrificial Red because it's sort of a darker red, orange-ish, I guess. At least that's the way I see it. It's not as red and bright as Crawdaddy Red, but it's starting to shift to that sort of orangish side. So I wanted to bring this over the purple and red area. So we based purple, it started white, then we went to purple, then we went to the Crawdaddy, which was really bright, and now we want to go to Sacrificial to sort of pick some areas to highlight, and then figure out how I want to shade it later. But that should be about done for the helmet. Just wanted to keep it simple on the helmet since it's just a detached thing, and I just gotta paint in the cables and stuff, but we can do that another time. But with that, we'll move on to using a bit more blue wash. When I was looking at the mini, I noticed that the underside of it was, I kind of felt not really defined. So I wanted to come in with some blue wash here on all of its ribs. Basically on the ribbed carapace for its chest. And then like do the bottom of some of the areas on the tail, because I was pretty happy with where the purple ended up of the Femme Fatale Violet over the blue before, but it seemed to be lacking a bit, so I wanted to come in with some blue wash and just pick out some areas just to make it, just to blue it back up to make it look a little darker in some places, since the blue can potentially be a shadow color. So wanted to add a little bit of that, and then add a little bit more onto the tongue just to make it a different color and stand out a bit more. But yeah, that's about all we did today for the Patriarch. Now we're on to the last call. So, for the last call, I didn't tell it to focus on the mini, so it didn't have a focal point, and I think that helped. Hopefully I won't be trying to refocus all the time on this spin. But, yeah. We're pretty close to the Patriarch itself being done, probably. We just need to work on the pipe it's sitting on, get some basing materials on them, and yeah, it'll be pretty much good to go at that point to lead this uppity little Genestealer Cult army I've got on the battle. Whether or not I'll actually use them, who knows, but you know, it's fun to at least have the leadership options painted up for the army, and though it's not purple skinned like the skin of the leadership I've painted so far, it's a little different, which is nice. Figure the yellow carapace again can harken back to why everybody wants to wear yellow, and the slightly bluish skin can be why they try to wear blue as well, since they all look purple skinned instead of sort of its skin tone. And I figure that can kind of be the reasoning behind it. But anyway, hope you all got some stuff done today, and got to enjoy the video. If you have any questions, we can discuss them down below. But with that, have a good one everyone, and take care out there.